I don't think that energetically on this Tuesday morning that we've started exactly the right way, because right before the microphones and cameras went on, Stugotz is yelling at his computer.
Yep.
He's telling an NFL team to bleep off because when they were no good, the people who play on that team would have loved to have been on God Bless Football. But now that Dan Campbell's team is good, Dan Campbell doesn't have time for God Bless Foot. Man Campbell, who was born in these streets.
Yep. I actually tried to book him for the main show, not God Bless Football, and the answer, and it was a quick answer, the answer was no. That drives me crazy. You have been lousy, your organization, for decades, and now you're finally relevant, and you're finally good, and I want to get Dan Campbell on. I want to get a coach on. Dan doesn't even want to talk to the coaches. He doesn't like talking to coaches, although this coach I think he might like, and they say no. Go bleep yourselves. I mean, seriously. I can't stand when teams do that. I can't stand when media relations staffs do that. I hate it.
I imagine that all your pitches always involve the main show. Even if they're never going to actually be on the main show, just say, come on the
Mike
main
Ryan,
show.
why did
hook him in with Dan?
Mike, why? Well, why? I'm mortified that Stugotz does all of this.
What do you mean?
Including, up to and including, telling the Lions to bleep off because Dan Campbell, who's very busy and has a lot of requests, that doesn't have time to just pal
Who was
around.
asking last year, though? Stugotz was.
Yep.
Nah, it's just Stugotz last year.
No, he's a popular coach. Dan Campbell had no shortage of media availability.
Nah, Chris is right. I was the only one asking last year. No one was asking last year. Now everyone's asking, and they say no.
Last year they were in Hard Knocks. That's not true.
Oh, yeah, the kneecaps thing.
They haven't done anything yet, Dan Campbell. You haven't done anything yet.
Boom.
You haven't done. You didn't make the playoffs. You won 9 games. Big deal. Didn't make the playoffs.
Wait a minute. Wait. I don't think you can say haven't done anything when
I just did.
That is the worst franchise in the history of football. Is it one playoff win in 40 years?
Yeah, 1991 they won a playoff game.
In 40 years, in the salary cap and equity. That team has been bad for a long time, and we all know now watching them, no, they're good now. If they're healthy, that's a good football team. You guys might not think so.
Big gulf between good and great.
Okay, but that's doing something at a franchise that's that bad. The standard can't just be, hey, they're one of the 5 best teams in the NFL right now. They have to be number 1 today. I have to think of them as the 49ers. I have to think of them today the way I think of the Chiefs. Like, give them a minute to get there. They've been bad for 50 years.
Well, they can have their minute, and in that minute they have, come on God Bless Football or this show.
Right.
Once you get there, blow us off. Not there yet, buddies.
Yep.
So we're not big enough anymore to get Man Campbell on the show.
You should really be the one that's insulted here, not Stugotz. Dan.
Yep, you should be. I use your name.
Yeah, call him directly. Call him right now.
Call him right now.
Get him on the phone.
Exactly
Seriously,
right.
call Dan Campbell right now. It's a good time to call a head coach.
Stugotz can get Adam Gase right now.
Maybe.
If you want him, I don't have access to the mighty Campbell. I want to backtrack for a second, though, because this isn't where I was expecting to start. We started there because Stugotz was mad at his computer, and the energies in here were bad.
Right.
But they were already kind of bad because we've got legitimate tension at the heart and soul of Miami sports media. I want to get with Greg Cody into a conversation about Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, an old-timey journalist, if ever there was one. Barry Jackson is having a meltdown on Twitter, arguing with a really bad fan base to argue with, which is the University of Miami football fan base. And I have never seen Barry Jackson, who's been in this market for, I'm going to say, 40 years, writing about the teams, always professional. Always objective, like not highly opinionated, tends toward fairness and facts, does it the correct way. He has now been dragged into the sewer, and he is coming out of the sewer throwing haymakers. I am stunned that old-timey Barry Jackson
It's awesome.
is insulting the UM fan base. It started with this. And I aired yesterday. I failed as a journalist. This piece of paper was on my computer all day yesterday. It was handed to me by Nix Taylor.
That's the tweet. I saved it. It's one of my favorites. That is Barry Jackson unhinged, giving opinions when that's not his job.
No, but this is not. No, wait a minute. This is not unhinged. We'll get to unhinged.
Oh, there's more.
No. This was on my. No. This is the beginning of this. Yesterday on my computer, and I failed in not getting to this because I wanted to do 4 full hours on this. This is the last of the old school sports journalist dinosaurs. Been doing it well, kicking ass, and fairly in this market for 40 years. And one of the strangest people I've ever met.
Unnecessary.
Strange can be good.
Yeah.
Unique?
Yeah, unique.
Yeah, that's better.
Unique.
Unusual?
Fair.
That's worse.
Yeah.
Peculiar.
Are you saying you're calling Barry Jackson fair or Dan's word fair?
I think unusual is a fair
Okay,
description.
strangest sounds pejorative. Fair enough. I retract it. My apologies. I don't mean it as disparagement. I've known Barry Jackson since he was a very young man. He's an unusual young man, and his peculiarities, I would say, make him exceptional at that job. Not good at it, exceptional at it.
I've met about 7 people that have written for the Miami Herald. None of them are normal.
No, but so I'm saying something.
Thank you.
I'm saying something where I tell you in my history at the Miami Herald, there have been fewer more unusual than one Barry Jackson.
He's a weirdo, Dan. You're
I'm
good.
not going to do it that
Let's
way.
move on.
That's pejorative.
I'm not. Yes, it is.
It is.
Okay, I don't want to do weirdo, but what I'm telling you is this is not the escalation. This is just the beginning. After what I called yesterday, and I welcome back the UM fan base yesterday because I proclaimed that. There have been 7 of them. But I proclaimed that Georgia Tech game the worst of them. I could have said it 7 times in my life and been kind of right. But they're objecting because they're hurt today, UM fans. They're hurt because they did the dumb thing. They lost for being dumb.
Yeah.
Like Miami gets laughed at a lot, but it's not like that. You get laughed at because you lose, but it's not because you lost because you did it to yourself because you're a fool, because you're going to lose in the most embarrassing fashion. Stugotz, I was conjuring a play from 50 years ago in the Meadowlands because to lose like that is echoing stupidity. It stains your program. Like people remember it years later.
And it's worse than dumb because it's dumb rooted in arrogance. The idea that you're not going to kneel in the victory formation, the idea that you're going to run the ball just to do what? To spite who?
To be a lineman, to be Mario Cristobal's a former lineman,
Right.
to out-tough you. I'm going to out-tough you.
Absurd.
Okay, but that's not the masculinity that's drenched in is secondary. The stupidity is what's amazing. Because they had the game and they lost a 1 game. And we can argue about stakes. I mean, of course, the championships that they lost are worse for stakes. But country laughing at you because you're dumb? And Miami's been made they've made a lot of fun of Miami over the years of this program. Persecution complex and actually persecuted. It doesn't get to be because they're idiots. It's not because it's because they show me up. They're too arrogant. They win too much and they're bold about it. How often does Miami get laughed at like this for just being the laughing stock of the sport because you did something that wasn't smart?
I think I hit all the right notes in terms of what the fans wanted yesterday, but also no one notices he does that if they get the call right. Yeah. Not a single person is calling Mario Cristobal an idiot unless they were paying attention to every single play in that game. We'd touch on it, that he should have knelt there if they get the call right. But they didn't.
You're right. That's dangerous. Next time he needs to kneel the ball. Right. That's all we're saying. One person is saying it maybe. Mike is right about this.
Okay. Well,
yes.
It's just odd to me that I have to have more accountability than the ACC officials who, when asked yesterday to clarify what happened there, because they flatly got the call wrong. They got it wrong while it happened. They got it wrong after a review. They still haven't said anything.
Yeah, Chaney's elbow was on the ground. It should
his
not have been.
elbow, his shoulder,
Yeah.
and credit to Georgia Tech doing what they had to do in slippery conditions to make bad officials think about it. It should have never gotten to that point. We all agree he should have knelt. But also, you would have never noticed if they got the call right.
To your point, if he fumbled, but they then knocked down the would-be touchdown pass, I think he would have been asked afterward, did you think about kneeling? So that would have come up, I think. But you're right. They got the call wrong. It doesn't matter. They're a laughingstock nationally because of the way they lost. They could have lost 30-3, and it wouldn't have been nearly the controversy.
To Stugotz's point, one person did talk about it. Tim Hasselback, who did color for the game. He noticed before even the fumble, before the play happened, why are they down in the barn?
He wins.
You guys do understand, though, the reason, before I get to this Barry Jackson thing, because Barry Jackson cares about this market. He's seen a lot. He's a historian. He's a local historian.
He cares about the program, too. I think he's a hurricane, isn't he?
He went to the University of Miami. And also, Stugotz learned some of the shit that I learned about journalism near the University of Miami, where the fans don't want you to do journalism. Just cover the team and support the team and root for the team. And when the team is getting beat up nationally, don't pile on. Support the team.
Fans also don't know what they don't know, because I'm sure they'd all appreciate an update on Mesidor's injury. They're not getting one because of the song and dance that people have to perform when covering college athletics, because there's so much control.
But Mike, what is happening? The reason that I say this feels worse for UM fans than any loss in program history is because you're sitting here saying the totally accurate thing. Hey, that's not a fumble. Everyone can see that call is wrong in the technological age. And you pleading that gets you laughed at because you could have knelt, you idiot. Like you sound like a loser. The fumble, all you had to do was kneel and you wouldn't have had the fumble. Yeah, that makes it worse that you allowed the position for the referees to take the game from you because you're a fool.
Yes.
Miami never gets laughed at there. And that's why I'm saying that one felt worse. When you go to bed at night, you're like, oh, even if I got a winning argument, I've got a losing argument because my coach didn't kneel.
If this thing doesn't work out for Mario Cristobal, if his coming back to UM to bring back the U and save football down here ends up not working.
It's too early for that, by the way.
I know, but if that
cooking.
happens, his epitaph is, we should have taken a knee. That's what's on his UM tombstone.
8 years from now, this game is going to be a thing.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
way.
they don't have to
If
wait
he doesn't
8 years.
correct it, that's what Greg is saying. If he doesn't get it right, that's what people will remember. And he's right about that.
I will tell you, man, Mike has been an unusual place on this show where he's not a journalist and he's really in the program, cares about it.
Golden Cane.
Wants his daughter raised in the community of that. Is raising his family in Miami almost through and around that program. So he cares about it a little more than Tony, who's in his garage with his wife listening to the end of the UM game on the radio, and he's just stopping his car and telling his wife he will not get out because Joe Zagacki has him in his embrace. And Tony is never... Mike grew up on this, but Tony is new to this particular party.
Here's the problem. I was on my way home, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to watch it on my phone. I'm going to go old school. I'm going to listen to Josie. I'm going to see the sights and the sounds of Canes football, right? So him and DBJ, there's about a minute left. DBJ throws off his headsets in celebration. Hey, we're good. I'm going to go down and talk to the guys. I'll see you in a bit. 2 seconds later, the fumble. Josie was alone by himself. Throws it to Josh Darrow.
Where's my partner?
He throws it to Josh Darrow on the sideline. Josh's like, yeah, I think that was a fumble. I don't know, Joe. So at that point, I'm rounding the corner, about to get into the garage of my apartment building, which is 27 stories of concrete. So the moment you get into that garage, you're going to lose the signal. So I'm kind of like half in, half out. And my wife's like, why aren't we going? I'm like, no, you don't understand. This never happened. Something is about to happen here. 2 plays later, they go in for a touchdown. And I'm sitting there at the open of my apartment just like, I can't believe this just happened. She's like, can we go now? And I'm like, yeah, okay, first. It just kept going.
Stunning
But
that
I just
you would.
stayed there.
I
Didn't
never
stick around for the post game.
I
couldn't.
I never have QAM reception when I pull into my garage.
It's like, oh, I'm listening to the game, then it's...
That's never. AM radio no longer works in my
walkie-talkie.
garage. That's correct.
Occasionally, Q-Pub leads in,
Yes,
too.
a little bit of that.
Depending on what part of the
Yes,
year we're in.
That is correct.
Why does that happen, by the way? That's crazy, right?
It is because we share airspace. I'm going to assume because Cuba's not that far. No, my entire childhood was spent with why are those Spanish people chattering in the background? That is clearly not for American Air.
And it's pro-Castro propaganda. What's happening here?
Yeah, that's probably not something that they get elsewhere in the country, I don't think.
What did Barry say?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Weirdo.
Thank you, Billy. But the context I want to place here, because Barry Jackson, who I'm not going to say is weird, and I take back that I said strange.
Pejorative.
and I'm just going to make it unique.
Okay.
A unique person.
Whatever you
Because
say.
Greg Cody, I've been wanting to get him in this conversation, and Greg Cody has to be careful. This is a colleague. There are only like 7 people still in the Miami Herald sports department, correct?
Yeah, I think exactly 7. And Barry's been around a long time, as you said. He's great at what he does. He's an old school reporter. And what's funny to me is even in the quote you're about to read, there's like a nugget of reporting in there. You know, the idea that he's threatening his assistant coach.
He's the original information man. He's born of the Woj and Schefter stuff and has never left the market. He's done it very well here. And so this is what he releases from an information account. Barry Jackson's still relevant in the modern age because he's good at the information game. Instead of spending offseason sending emails threatening his staff if they talked more to local writers, Cristobal should have worked on simple math instead. And then here's the killer. 3 words, a haymaker from the sky. What a joke.
Stuck the landing,
Look
man.
at the timestamp. If you see the timestamp, that is someone that went to the school at 11:33 at night after that play, getting emotional, making the non-kneel about 3 different things.
Okay, so
Look at those views, though.
yes. Well, here's the thing about all of this, okay? And this is the dirty secret. Greg Cody, I've been smoking out Greg Cody as a homer for a while now. And this is the truth about Barry Jackson, me, and Greg Cody. We care about that program. We're just not allowed to show you. We've got to hide it at every turn. We've got to be objective. But God damn it, they've been coming after Miami for 40 years. and every once in a while, when Barry Jackson, because he's talking about having grave stuff going on in his life as a reason for this outburst, and this is an outburst by him. He does not do this.
Not just this one tweet, by the way, because that's what people are probably thinking if they're just following along now. Go through his replies. He is brawling with everyone. And I mean,
It's a brawl.
everyone.
He is brawling with the internet. This seems unwise, okay, because Adam Cohen writes in, LOL, loser, you're hilarious. I'm not the journalist taking obvious personal shots at the UM program because you feel small. Calling me a loser won't change the fact that Mario won't let your ass into the door. Barry Jackson. Hey, moron.
I love this, Barry. I mean,
Seems measured so far.
Just give him a shot. We haven't heard the rest yet.
I love it.
Let him flow.
this is great.
Everything I tweeted is accurate and not disputed by UM. So there are the facts. And I still have my credential, and that ain't changing. Go back in your hole, weasel.
Oh,
Yes.
Weasel. Oh,
Wow.
Go back in your hole.
Weasel.
Interesting.
Somebody else writes, you are such a D-bag. I'm shocked anyone pays to read anything you write. Barry Jackson's reply, shocked anyone gives you food and water.
We should hire this guy.
That's a good retort. That's excellent. Well done, Barry. B-Jack on the prowl.
Adam Cohen writes again, glad you're back to
This
just
Cohen guy.
glad you're back to just tweeting info instead of taking spiteful shots at Mario and the program. Such a bad look for you. Barry Jackson replies, unfollow, loser. And finally, Austin writes in, Devi Dietz, this person should absolutely not be covering sports as a journalist based on these tweets alone. Because Barry Jackson had written, don't mean to sound petty with below, but the broader point made to me by a UM staffer is Mario spends too much time worrying about unimportant stuff. And this email below came after a positive article about UM. Hopefully they'll bounce back. Miami's a better place when UM wins. And so Austin writes, this person should absolutely not be covering sports as a journalist based on these tweets alone. Get lost, you nitwit.
Wow.
Nitwit.
That's a haymaker.
Top rope. Haymaker.
That's just a sampling.
Adam went too far.
I think
You're
he's.
right, yeah.
I think Barry might still be going. And look, the food and water line was a bar.
It was great.
That was a bar.
That was a good line.
But this is not a good look for Barry.
Can we just have a scroll on the screen of Barry Jackson that just refreshes his screen?
Live
as
scroll.
the content. Look, man, he's got to keep up in the content game. And if it means getting a little coarser, to keep up with the kids, Greg Cody will swim in that slum.
We'll just occasionally throw some up on the screen to satiate.
Only if someone puts up their ring finger as their middle finger, though.
Barry's in a difficult position right now because in what he writes, he is not a columnist by title.
I'm sorry. Why does it say "go to hell" on the screen? And
with no punctuation?
Who is this directed at? Okay, don't bombard me. All right, that's fine. Just scroll on through. I can't read it while I'm doing the show. Say what you were saying, Greg.
Barry, in what he writes, is not a columnist by title, and so therefore there's very little opinion or certainly no strong course opinion in what he writes. So this is an alter ego for him. He's not limited on social media to not give opinions, and so he's running full blast. And the Herald, he's a clicks horse for the Herald. I mean, he's a monster.
You stumbled
Horse.
on that.
What happened?
You
Good.
stumbled on that
Caballo.
word. Are you sure horse is what you meant there?
I'm choosing my words carefully.
By the way, quick update. He told Adam to go to hell. I mean, this Adam.
Adam really was pushing his buttons.
Personal, him and Adam.
He's a click horse.
I didn't mean click whore. I was thinking of another word besides horse that was a little more coarse than horse. Of course.
Donkey?
Barry's great at what he does.
Mule?
The Herald loves him. My boss at the Miami Herald loves Barry and is not going to rein him in. I guarantee you the boss is not telling Barry, hey, tone
Really?
it down online.
I'm not so sure about that.
Delayed.
I'm pretty
I mean,
sure.
you would know better than I, but I've heard from a couple of people that everyone's kind of wondering aloud. And we also have to, once again, mention that Barry himself has said that he's got some stuff going on. But fellow journalists, everyone's a little confused by this look right now.
Okay, but I would say that, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Because this, I don't think, is a fight we've seen from Barry Jackson in public before because he is very professional. This is out of character. So when he volunteers within a tweet, I think by way of explanation, hey, I'm dealing with the death of my parents and my own health issue. I'm not taking any shit from anyone anymore. It's a real uncaging. It's a real, he is coming out free and fighting the internet as a way of, I'm done taking all of these beatings I've taken because I'm a fact-based journalist in a time that doesn't treasure those anymore. You know how hard it is to make imagine trying to be Schefter or Woj, but not quite being Schefter or Woj and having to make
In one market.
make the fight in the information business. And there's that damn Andy Slater, and he's got all the police logs.
Scoops.
But he also does, I think at the heart of this, we've made the analogy, the married couple that has a huge blowout argument over the missing sock in the laundry. And that's really what's at the heart of this for Barry. Covering the University of Miami, covering college athletics, as you see Lincoln Riley over at USC impose his will. They have such a control over messaging, and they don't have to adhere to collectively bargained injury protocols when it comes to reporting stuff. In order for you to maintain your relationships there and be a good reporter, you have to play a game that is different than pro sports. And it means swallowing a lot. It means not reporting things in order to get to the reporting. And with this particular staff, Mario Cristobal is a little bit more involved and wants these closely guarded things to be state secrets. I can understand Barry's frustration, but he is making the kneel about something it is not.
Let me ask you this question as a journalist, Greg Cody, because going back many years ago to when Jimmy Johnson and the people who birthed Mario Cristobal, they didn't want us around the program either because Leonard Conley would get suspended for something undisclosed, and I'm reporting what he did, that he stole a wallet from somebody, and they don't need that or want that around their program 20, 30 years ago. Mario Cristobal comes from that and now gets 8 years, $80 million of security, and his job is to protect all of the Miami stuff from everybody. He's got no use for journalism. What does he need Barry Jackson? Of course he's going to get mad that his assistants are telling Barry Jackson anything. Like Mario Cristobal is crazy about winning, Stugotz. He's a lunatic.
Then take a knee.
Well, he's crazy. He's crazy about talent acquisition, which brings you the wins.
Yes.
And the thought is, if I can try to figure out why he's obsessive-compulsive about messaging and what's out there, and not just what the media is reporting, but what players' parents are tweeting, it's that all of this can affect talent acquisition. All of this can affect the main goal of having so many good players on your team that you can navigate the occasional, I mess that up with my game management game. You just overwhelm with talent. So I think that's what is at the heart of it, because recruiting is so much built on perception that he wants to control the perception.
There were a ton of recruits at that game, and the laughter that echoed was about Miami being stupid. Miami throwing away a game. Hey, undefeated seasons are hard.
There's what, like 8 undefeated teams right now? And we're only in October. We're not even mid-October. It's hard to be undefeated right now. The margins can be just that.
Can we talk for a second about the pressure cooker of what he inherits at the moment that Miami gets in the big money college game where they're like, hey, coach, 8 years, $80 million. Where'd that come from? Miami's never had the money to get the free agent. Now he's got the responsibility. Hey, coach, you played here. Bring the program back. And you lose one yourself when you are crazed, obsessed with winning and succeeding at this. Because, I mean, man, I'm not storytelling here when I tell you this is Cuban Miami, Stugotz. This person was raised to succeed in this market, in this city, came and took his dream job, and is obsessed in a way that's deeply unhealthy, but where he's doing all his work on making sure they win, and he's the reason they lost.
You're doing the appropriate backstory on Mario Cristobal, but you're forgetting one major thing. He had gone on, he had become a head coach, he went to FIU, he got fired. Yeah. And he
Fired from FIU.
And he had to reboot it because he had
That's correct.
It wasn't a great move. He had a beef with Pete Garcia. He goes over to
Everyone does, Mike.
He goes over to
So
Alabama.
So true. Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Does everyone have a beef with Pete Garcia?
But this is
So random.
This is where I think most of this is coming from, though, because he learns how to be a successful coach because he knew what success looked like as a player, but he didn't know what it took to be a staffer on a successful coaching staff. He was a grad assistant for a national title team in Miami, but he had to deal with that failure, and he reshapes himself as a professional at the knee of Nick Saban, who is operating inside of Tuscaloosa and has full autonomy over what goes out in the media space.
No Barry Jacksons in Tuscaloosa.
No,
that doesn't exist in Tuscaloosa.
No, because they can totally cut somebody out, and they don't have a corporate parent like the Miami Herald to back you up. All right, the Miami Herald can exist without the Miami Hurricanes football program. In Tuscaloosa, they need that program humming for everybody to eat. So that's really, as much as you want to say Miami and control shaped them, and Columbus, and even going back to being a Cuban man, and he's almost military in his approach. A lot of this is Saban too.
All I'm saying to you is that Miami got into the big-time game where, 15 or 20 programs can play? The place of the $80 million coach for 8 years will guarantee the money, right? There aren't, once you make the game that purposefully about it's just going to be dollars, and Miami gets in the game, splashy, with not a lot of success in 20 years. In 20 years, not really, and by reputation, can only be in this class, Stugotz, because of what they did a quarter century ago.
Right.
It's the only reason they're invited. Hey, you want to be as a brand Notre Dame? You want to be as a brand Texas? They're bigger than the things in the ACC based on things from 25 years ago.
But who cares about the expectations and the weight of the world on Mario's shoulders? Dan, it's his dream job. He's living exactly where he wants to live, and he's paid $80 million. Fix the program.
Okay, yes.
Take a knee.
Yes, absolutely, Stugotz. I'm only telling you the backstory.
I know.
Because I find fascinating how much this must hurt him because he cares more than anyone listening to this. He cares more.
More than Barry?
He cares
That
more.
offensive lineman crying seemed to care a lot.
Yeah.
He cares more than any and all of you about this. And so I just assume that those people hurt the most, especially when you can this specifically put the blame in one place. I can't imagine the ravaging that this human being is doing to himself. I don't know how forgiving he is of himself.
Did you watch the presser yesterday?
I saw they went upbeat. They went, I can't, the guys.
But he also took full, he took full responsibility over it.
He had to.
I mean, he didn't
What else could he
necessarily.
do?
Well,
no, he had to, Mike.
That's part of what he was getting beaten up about.
He could have done what a lot of fans are doing, which is blame the refs. He could have.
No.
I'm telling you, I'm happy that he came out with the approach, which is you just have to eat that one. And I understand. You want to bring the program back? Take a knee. long view here. It's not about one individual result. It's about stacking talent for him.
It's so hard, though. This is what's hard. I mean, if you look at the fandom of what we're talking about, because Stugotz, Greg Cody, as the original Homer in the journalism market, birthed all of the things that this stupid show is so that Mike could try to do journalism about this program from deeply inside of it, Stugotz. Like he's navigating this line between I'll be an information guy, but you guys do know that I'm paying to be a part of this club.
Too inside, one might say.
Some might say it sounds like it to me sometimes when he's got to be careful about how critical he is because he cares about these people.
Didn't sound like he was careful yesterday.
Well, no, I prodded him into that because
I mean, people don't understand when the criticisms that I'm like bought and paid for and not hard enough. I go into these rooms. I see Dan Radakovich after I criticize him on the air, and he knows. Like, I see Coach Cristobal after I do that and get unfairly clipped by our own social media where it seems like I'm telling him
you're walking into the
which I'm
room
not.
with the athletic director, and people know, he knows that you have said he has been terrible at his job, and I've called him a suit in a game that is among power brokers that are pretty useless.
Why are
by
we feeling
and
sorry
large.
for Mario Cristobal today? I'm so
Exactly.
confused. Like,
Thank
you
you.
lost a game you should have won. That
Right.
happens every week in college football.
Half
I
the
don't
coaches
understand
in
it.
America lose every
Exactly
weekend.
right.
Yeah, they deal with it.
That's a fact.
Well, I'm glad you
Stugotz.
pointed that out because I don't think there's.
Occasional tie? No.
I totally miss anybody feeling bad
college,
for
no.
Mario Cristobal on this show.
No, I don't.
I haven't.
He brought it on himself.
Is anyone feeling bad for
I
Mario
do.
Cristobal?
Seems like Dan is.
I do. Yes, I do. But this is a lonely position, right? Because I'm just looking at it. I'm like, oh, that dude cares so much, and today you're an idiot. Ouch, that hurts. When what I'm also seeing, this is such a pressure cooker now that Mike Ryan, a month in, is biting his tongue because Deion Sanders has fixed it. He fixed it like that. What does that say about Cristobal? What does that say? That's where we're putting the standard. Short view, Arizona State wins, or are we looking 3 years, 5 years, build a program, build a business, build something substantive in our market with the Columbus guys, and it's a giant swing or fail. Like it's home run or strikeout.
But that's part of what made last Saturday very frustrating. That you had a chance to do it quicker than anyone could have imagined because you had an undefeated team going to North Carolina playing another undefeated team, and possibly they could have found themselves in the playoff this year.
No, but here is why, Stugotz. I feel bad for the human beings who live at the center of the madness we've made of sports. We are all unified in just kneel, you idiot, except when it comes to Kaepernick. Then we're totally divided on it. But everyone says, don't be an idiot there. And Mario Cristobal just has to eat it. None of us want to be the thing that everyone on the internet is making fun of. None of us want to be the thing people in football, pro and college, are talking about Saturday and Sunday. Mario Cristobal, at his own doing, was the butt of a giant joke in the pressure cooker, and that's what the money's for. Like, he's got to build the team, but that's why they pay them that way. Because there's a human being at the center of that who cares more than all of you do, feels the pressure of this more than all of you do, and feels the failure of it more than all of you do. And anyone under the burden of that gets that hurts no matter how much money you're making. Like, that feels bad.
Dan, but fans want it, and they want it now, and I don't blame them because you can get it now. Because Kirby Smart goes to Georgia, and Georgia's fixed. Because Nick Saban goes to Alabama, and Alabama's fixed inside of 3 years, Mike.
You're citing examples that didn't do it right away. That didn't do it.
Lincoln Riley goes to USC. They're fixed in a year.
Yeah, in the NIL age, it's different. I understand what you're saying, but Kirby Smart, people wanted him gone. I mean, Nick Saban lost to UL Monroe.
There's no forgiving the way they lost that game. It's a stain on Cristobal that's going to last. But before that game, they're 4-0 and ranked number 17, and everybody's loving everything that's happening. If they win at North Carolina in a few days, they're going to be 5-1 and ranked number 17 again. It could happen. I don't think it will, but it could happen. And his latest recruiting cycle is very good once again. He hasn't failed. He failed miserably against Georgia Tech in the last minute, but he hasn't failed yet.
Wait a minute. Like, this is not where we're going to put this standard. It's not what we're going to do because it is possible that by the end of this season, Colorado will not be fixed. But I will not forget that they started the season thinking that they'd win 3.5 games and not be competitive. Mm-hmm. And to this minute, 5 weeks in, in the pressure cooker. 5 weeks in, Deion's a success. Hey, Mario, you've had a year and a half. This has to be long view, does it not? Like, it has to be. Are you building a
Since
program?
when is the U long view? I mean,
I'm talking about. No,
Since they spent 8 years.
Yeah, they're forced to be.
$8 million.
It's long view because he
$80 million.
recruits.
no, and they're paying him guaranteed money. Like, this isn't they can afford a buyout.
But the problem with Mario has never been recruiting. It's been coaching. So, like, you can give him 2 more recruiting cycles. If the problem is coaching, that's still going to be there.
the story locally, Billy, him coming from FIU, where he was. You understand?
I
Lane,
wanted him to be fired from FIU because of coaching, to be perfectly honest with you. I was like, okay, you can go. Like, you got us to 2 bowl games, and now we are like a 2-10 team.
He's been frustrating as a game day coach for a long time.
And that's not
going
to change with recruiting cycles.
Yeah, it will. The hope is you have so much talent that you become an Ed Orgeron
You win in
team.
spite of your coach?
Yeah.
That's not what you pay someone $80 million.
There's been plenty of national champions that have won in spite of their coach.
Game
Billy gets
management
the
is the
players.
easy part.
Right.
Game management is the easy part.
Apparently not.
Not for him.
It's the
Recruiting's
easy part.
easy.
If I have a coach who can either recruit great or be a great game manager, I'm going to take the recruit guy at the college level.
Stop putting us in the class of national contenders. Where we were was I'd kill to lose 2 games a year and one of them be on my head coach just totally mangling a late game situation. Just give me a 10-win season for the love of God. That's where we've been outside of 2017 for the better part of 2 decades. That's where we've been. I'll take losing the Utah game that he lost every year. I'll take the occasional Stanford game. I'll even take the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah.
If by the end of this year you have a season that feels really good and we're on the right track.
To Billy's point, for his career, he's 71-68 as a coach. Like, the recruiting's great, but game day coaching's important. He's not good at it.
Who's the coach that's like a really, really bad recruiter but can call a timeout with the best of them?
The thing that's funny about this, at the core of making it a business, and it's fascinating as a storyline, what Mike is saying is absolutely so. In the competitive game of buying yourself the best talent so you can compete with Saban, because it's the wild, wild west, it is more important that Mario Cristobal just get a team full of people that are 50 guys that could maybe play at Alabama and will take the 2 or 3 losses a season, because we know that you're going to stumble on some game days and lose some games you shouldn't, because I've always got a team that's a little more physically talented. There's no disputing this. The team that's out there for Miami is physically, to the eye, very obviously better than the one that was playing for them last year, even if Van Dyke is throwing 3 interceptions.
Yes, but don't you wonder, with all that talent, why that game's even close against Georgia Tech?
That's college football, dude. Don't hit me with that. That's college
Mike,
football.
they were 21-point favorites at home.
Oh,
Come
yeah?
on. It's
Okay.
Georgia
What
Tech.
was USC at home to Arizona? What was FSU on the road to Boston College? You've watched college football. These games happen.
USC won.
Yeah.
Clemson
I know.
this
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah. And if it weren't
Nice
for
cover for
and if
Arizona.
it weren't for the kneeling or a bad replay, Miami would have won. You have survive and advance games all the time. What I'm telling you is, when he got signed here, I readily admitted, we're going to build some talent. I'm going to want to fire him maybe once or twice a year. And that was before I realized they'd expand the playoff. All right? He's going to lose occasionally these games. That's a cost of doing business. But hopefully you stack the talent to the point that you're still in the conversation and you can navigate that.
To me, it's crazy as a conversation, though, Cody. Think about where we are when the way you win at the dirty business of power college football. Stugotz, the dollars being thrown around by these networks. The ACC got robbed. He got robbed by our CEO. Robbed. Their TV contract is awful. Miami is a brand that this dude is managing. Is this guy, it is in his care. You don't feel anything in the way of bad for him in this, because this is the paycheck and we are entitled to hammer him again and again from any angle, even though it is the prevailing echoing opinion that no one disagrees with. One of the reasons it's so fun is because everyone can say today, wow, what an idiot you are. What a fool.
But do you feel bad for Brian Kelly when he loses?
No,
a game?
not at all.
Okay,
Right.
so what's the difference?
What's the difference? You care about the program. That's the difference.
That is the difference.
Yes.
I mean, I feel a little bit bad for Coach Cristobal, the person, yeah, but not as bad as Dan does. This is big boy stuff, and he understands that. Where I feel bad about Mario Cristobal is I know no one cares. I care deeply. I don't care anywhere close as much as Mario Cristobal cares. For $80 million, you have an obsessive, compulsive person that Barry Jackson takes exception to him wanting to control every aspect of everything, including Barry Jackson's job. You have someone that cares more than anyone. That if this fails, it might literally kill the man.
Nobody wants to hear moderation, but you can say both things. You can say the mistake Cristobal made was inexcusable. It's going to stain him forever. And you can also say, yeah, but it's not felonious. It's not something that should bring the college coaching equivalent of the death penalty. These people saying he needs to resign immediately. He should be fired.
Who are those
Patently
people?
If he
ridiculous.
cares about the program, he should bring in a better coach.
Bingo.
That was all over. That was all over social
Who
media
are
the
those
night of that
people?
game.
Who are these people?
They're unnamed people that Barry Jackson's picking a fight with.
What's wrong with what Billy just said? You have a guy who's in charge of getting the players, and then a guy who's in charge of coaching the players.
Look, I would love that.
Huh?
I hope that Miami grows to the program that someone else will be managing their games. And Mario can just be
That's
good.
not what you hope when you pay someone $80 million.
No, usually
This is
not.
insane.
Yeah, the costs have gotten very expensive, and now all you get for $80 million is the guy who gets the guys. And I'll take that for now because that's a win. The guy who gets the guys, that kind of matters. That we're doing it straight commerce now.
Now he's just a Nick Saban away.
But Stugotz, we're doing it straight commerce now. There's a reason Saban's staff are 3 times as large as everybody else. I mean, Jason Taylor, a Hall of Famer, is on Cristobal's staff. And how does Jason Taylor feel?
He would have taken a knee.
But Jason Taylor, better at football than Mario Cristobal ever was. Older, I think, than Mario Cristobal. Being yelled at by crazy person Mario Cristobal. Because the job now is to win at the business of college sports and get the players. And that's what he does well. But I'm totally in on Billy's idea of I will allow someone else to coach the team on maybe Fangs.
He already kind of did.
Really?
Cristobal ceded a bunch of control this season to his coordinators. And by the way, Shannon Dawson cut from the same cloth. If you watch the replays of what was happening there, Shannon Dawson was calling the plays.
Right. And he admitted it.
Yeah, it's Mario's job to step in and say, hey, take a knee. And sometimes they have someone else because these guys are so locked in. I know Mark Rick had, his son say, hey, we should think about time management here. But Mario Cristobal has to step in at that point, and that's the accountability.
Alex Miraball's running up the sideline telling him to just take a knee.
Yeah, I saw that still, and I watched it back to see if I could see Alex Mirabal actually say take a knee because that's what the internet has made it.
I want to believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Van Dyke say, hey, no, coach, I'm not running that play. I'm taking a knee. It's winning time.
Not how college
You're
works.
Can't
a
do
fool.
that?
You're
Yeah.
a fool.
How about
He should have done that.
How about
Would've won.
somebody?
Yeah.
Somebody on that staff. I don't care who it is. How about the assistant offensive line coach in a
Anybody.
staff meeting
That might have
goes,
actually happened.
Is that
why
is that-
aren't we kneeling?
Is that Mirabal's job? Is that his job?
Mirabal, there's a still that's pretty convincing. And again, I watched it to try to see if I could confirm the still. And you can write a narrative around it. But it does appear from the still that Mirabal is actually telling Dawson and Coach Cristobal right next to him, hey, let's kneel the ball. What are we doing? And they're not really paying much attention to him because they're locked in on the game.
Is what Dan is saying, is that true, Mike? Because I don't have Jason Taylor being yelled at by Mario Cristobal.
Mario Cristobal learned from Nick Saban.
He's yelling
he
at
yells at everybody.
JT. Really?
Yeah, Nick Saban yelled at
Really?
Jason Taylor. Mario
What?
Cristobal's intense.
I mean,
this is his program.
I'd quit.
There-
Jason Taylor.
Dude,
I
there
mean-
have been a lot. There have been a lot that have quit and moved on. It's not for everybody.
My larger point on this, it's the part that I find most interesting is big money business. Miami wants to be in the game, and Mario Cristobal, with a team of mercenaries at 8 years, $80 million, his strength coach, Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer on your sidelines. The Hall of Famers don't get those jobs.
Right.
That's not where they start. They don't. So Jason Taylor was a lot better at football than Mario Cristobal. He is older than Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal now.
He's not older than Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal played on national championship teams. I mean, Jimmy Johnson drafted Jason Taylor.
Okay, forgive me, but I don't
It's
think
close.
I don't think of Jason Taylor.
JT's almost 50.
I don't think of Jason Taylor looking at Mario Cristobal and saying, you know more about football than I do. But in this case, he is living in service of, we're going to build a business football factory down here. And Cristobal, learning the lessons of Saban, will try and build us into the giant program to restore what we were 30 years ago. That's the gamble, that Mario will be better at the business of this. Correct? They've hired a CEO of their business.
Yes, the gamble here is to be better than what we've been, because we've also been laughed at for 20 years. We've been missing bowl games. We've had 7-win seasons. We're all sick of that. Yes, I'd love to get to the national championship discussion, and I hope to God we're talking college football playoff rankings, hoping to God some of the voters saw that it was not actually a fumble, and we can celebrate the human element instead of computers. I hope we get there.
You have the voters doing
But
that, huh?
that's why I'm doing long view here. The team looks way better than it did last year. The body types look way better than it did last year.
Body types.
Yeah, it's a big.
It's true.
You win with bodies.
You're right,
You
Mike.
win with dogs.
Yep.
All right. So if I project that over a full cycle, over 4 years,
Dogs kneel. I mean,
keep.
Dogs do kneel. You know what? He's so right about that. He's so right. You could get a dog to kneel.
Yeah.
I'll deal with the Sun Bowl. I'll deal with a 7-win season in year 2. I'll deal with it.
You're going to deal with a 7-win season this year?
Entering this season, we were talking about 8 wins being a success. Like I'll deal with that as long as I believe in the process,
But this
and
is
that
a problem.
the talent is going to keep improving year over year, and by year 3, year 4, in an expanded college football playoff, you can legitimately compete. I'm not going to all of a sudden change the math just because this season started off better than all of you thought it would. I am not.
Fuentes, can you do me the favor, please, at some point in the corner of the screen here on video on YouTube? I would like for you to put up the face that Mike Ryan was making in the middle of his mask-wearing disguise when Deion was having success for 3 games and all the Miami guys were flocking to Deion's side. A rabid Mike Ryan came out unmasked and just yelled, "I hate Deion Sanders," because he cares about this program in an unreasonable way. More, I dare say, than even Barry Jackson. And you've seen what lurks within him.
Debatable, yeah.
What Mike is trying to keep a measured tone as he takes on, as he welcomes, as he tries to create Heat Basketball 2010 in college football. He's moving and shaking in the big rooms. He's offering Amin, you want some power at the game? And Amin's like, no, I'll just sit in the stands with Georgia Tech because I will not be bought. I will not stand on the Miami sideline. Mike's moving and shaking, trying. That's such a funny phrase. I don't even know what it means, but it's what he's doing. Trying to lead this program to glory. He's being a.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to do my part. I'm just trying
You
to
need to hold Mario accountable next time you see
Yeah.
him. You
Yeah.
need to ask for you're his boss. Like, you pay his salary.
That's
You
right,
need to
Mike.
have him come
Be
up to you
proud
and
of it,
explain
yeah.
to you why it is that he did the things that he did. Not be afraid of him. There needs to be some accountability around here. That's why we're having 5 and 6 win seasons. You need to hold people accountable.
Going to the Sun Bowl.
When you're paying $80 million to a coach, you're not just hoping to take the next step. You want to be in the room with the big boys. You want to be in the college football playoffs. This is a $4 million a year salary. This is $8 million. $80 million over 10 years. $10 million over 8 years, whatever it is. You need to get some accountability from this man. Hold him accountable. That's the thing. He's just walking around here all loosey-goosey, doing whatever he damn well pleases. Everyone's afraid of him. You need to hold him accountable, Mike. That's your part. That's what you need to do for this school that you've dedicated so much time and passion and money towards. You need to do the hard things sometimes, and say, hey, buddy, buck up. That's where we are right now. I'm sorry, because you're headed into a slaughterhouse, as Taylor says, next weekend.
Yep.
And then what happens? It's 2 straight games. And then we're really feeling bad for Mario. And then what happens the following week? Who do you play? Clemson.
Oh, boy.
Oh, if you lose to Clemson.
It's over.
It's over. The whole thing is over. How can't it be? Then Virginia. 3 straight. You don't want to face
The
Virginia.
Cavs.
Virginia.
Mike,
NC State, Florida State, Louisville. I mean, the list goes on and on.
What time is Georgia Tech football coach? Is it Mike Elko? What time is he joining God Bless Football this week? Because I've missed that general theme.
We tape with him. He was laughing like the rest of us.
You do understand that Mike Ryan's descent into insanity is going to appear like The Lighthouse, the movie. We're halfway through the season.